back to AnimeCons TV. I'm Doug, and I'm here with two good friends of mine, Eric and Anne-Marie, who are also members of the 501st Legion and the Rebel Legion, which I also am a part of. And we decided, since they do a lot of stuff at conventions, we were going to talk to them and tell them a little bit more about what they are. So, of course, I'm a member of the 501st Legion, but for those of people who might not know, what are the 501st Legion and the Rebel Legion?
So, the 501st and Rebel Legions are Lucasfilm's preferred Imperial and heroic costuming organizations. So we do screen-accurate representations and reproductions of the costumes that you see in the Star Wars movies, from the television shows, from the video games, comics, Star Wars media.
And we're a charity support group, so that means that we are not specifically a charity ourselves, but a lot of the events that we participate in, especially if you see us at a convention, if we're raising money, it's probably going to be for some sort of local charity. And so that's what charity support is. Basically, we help bring in more numbers, more money.
And there is definitely a difference between the two. As you said, one's kind of the Imperials and one's kind of the good guys. And it's kind of simplified. It's light side of the Force, dark side of the Force, for those of you who know Star Wars. But I mean, at least on the very surface level, that's kind of there are more differences further out. But
I mean, there's some blurring of the lines when you look at, like, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Because clone troopers, for example, are 501st and Rebel costumes, because you watch them flip sides on screen. Tusken Raiders, Jawas, they're a little iffy. Are they good? Are they bad? No, it's the universe that they just live in.
They get to be both.
Exactly.
They get to be. But so if someone was saying, "Oh, I want to join up," how can they join? How can they start?
Well, all of the resources for finding everything as far as how to join, how to get started, are going to be on the two main Legion websites, because they are separate groups. So rebellegion.com and 501stlegion.com. Now, both of the groups do also have more local subdivisions called either garrisons or bases on a general level. So that way, but you go to the main one, which will go you to the worldwide resources, and then you can get connected to the costuming resources, find out. Usually, if you're interested in joining, you have an idea of what costume you might be interested in doing. So that way you know, okay, well, I'm interested in doing a Han Solo, so that means you're going to want to go to Rebel Legion. Or, I really want to be Boba Fett, you're going to go to the 501st Legion. And then from there, you can find the resources about how to get started in costuming, and also connecting to your local members who will be able to help guide you through the process of completing a costume.
Especially if it's one of your first costumes or something like that, it's a really good resource for making sure you know where to find the things you need are, because this isn't just buy a costume, this is building and stuff like that. And it's a lot of knowledge base of making sure you don't make a potentially expensive mistake.
Yeah. We've seen it happen before where somebody goes to eBay and goes, well, I want to be a stormtrooper. And they buy something that happens to be mass-produced and not accurate and not a representation that Lucasfilm would want or Disney would want at their events. And they come in and they go, well, look, I'm a stormtrooper. And unfortunately, we have to go, that's X amount of money that you have unfortunately sunk into something that we can't help you with.
While it may be an amazing Halloween costume, that doesn't mean that it's screen accurate.
Exactly.
I think one of the best rules I ever learned from getting involved with the organization is cheap, fast, and accurate. Pick two.
Yep.
And it definitely comes a lot of patience, especially because a lot of the focus is on screen accuracy, really making it feel like the character has come alive and it's the actual person, not just someone in a costume. You really kind of adopt the character.
Definitely. I mean, Disney does it best. It's when you see somebody at one of the parks, they are Mickey Mouse. They are Gaston. When people see us out and about, it's not Eric Schaefer in a Stormtrooper costume. No, I am TK6124.
And I think that's a good one to talk about, the TK number, and that's something in the 501st that every person has their unique identification, and it's a big organization, but there's always, that little personality of you're a part of something bigger.
Exactly.
We had to go from 4 digits up to 5 a couple years ago because we had too many people.
Because Doug broke it.
In the New England Garrison, I was the first 5-digit. TB 15,000. There we go. But it keeps growing, and I mean,
it's not the first time that we've had it happen. We went from 3 digits to 4 digits, and at that point there was this huge surprise. Oh wow, we've got over 1,000 members. What are we going to do? This group keeps growing. Nah, we'll never hit 5 digits. Surprise.
And I think the comparison I keep hearing too is because there's the local bases and everything like that. In both sides, it's kind of like almost being like in the positive sense of a fraternity. You go visit different chapters and you meet different people.
Definitely.
But you all see this common thread of, hey, I like dressing up like a stormtrooper and things like that too. And you find a lot of neat people. KatsuCon a couple years ago, I was coming back from it, and there was an open invitation from the Empire City Garrison to join in one event. So I stopped off on my way back from KatsuCon in DC, in New York, and did an event down there. And it was a great way to meet some of the people. And I met this one guy who was just starting out. It was his first troop, and now he's commanding officer of the Empire City Garrison. Wow. So you meet a lot of interesting people, things like that. And going back to kind of conventions now, that's something you see, I think, a lot of local Comic Cons and things like that. There is almost always a 501st and Rebel Legion. Both groups have their tables. Sometimes they share. Sometimes they're their own entities. It kind of depends on the event and the organizations. But what are some of the people that might be looking for the 501st or Rebel Legion at a convention? What would be a way to kind of look for them?
Well, we're typically the ones making the most noise. Most conventions, we have some sort of table space or booth space set up that's charity driven. So we're raising money for Make-A-Wish or the Jimmy Fund or a local charity. But we typically have something going on there where there's some sort of costume display, or there's a large prop setup. Here in New England, we used to have a life-size Jabba the Hutt that our members had built, complete with dais, and it basically was a giant puppet. So you would hear the cantina music playing and Jabba's palace music playing and whoa, 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 booming across the floor. And then you could show up and take photos with it, and the donations go to charity. But like I said, we're the ones making the most noise. We're typically the ones putting on the big show.
Yeah. And I think it's to make that spectacle for the charity, but
absolutely.
Part of the reason we do a lot of stuff at conventions is we're a costuming organization, and so many people I know in the organizations, like, they definitely have their 501st costumes, but they now have become so much more meticulous about other costumes they do. And I often joke the best and worst thing about joining getting involved with the Legions is I've become such a stickler for details on other costumes that I make.
One of the big benefits with conventions, as opposed to some of the other events that we try to do, is it's a great recruiting spot. Another reason that we try and make a lot of noise, because I mean, when we're doing charity events that aren't at a convention, it's still great. It's still what we love. We're still meeting, lots of kids, raising money for charity. But at a convention, you generally have a lot of people there that are going to be like-minded, that are going to be like, you know what, I love to costume, I'm here in this other costume, Firefly, whatever, and then they're like, you know what, I really do love Star Wars too, your costumes are amazing, how do I get involved? Yeah. So it's one of those types of places where it is also one of the best ways for us to reach new members in person, because there's, the internet's great, but there's only so much that can be done as far as recruitment, because people are like, wait, what is this group really? Yeah. It's a lot easier for some people to get into the group if they've met some people in person, and that's a good thing at conventions too.
Definitely.
Last year at Rhode Island Comic Con, when we showed up, I spent 20 minutes when I had approached a Ruby cosplayer to take a look at the way that she put together her scythe. at the same time that she was approaching me to talk about my Jedi. So we were talking props for a good 20 minutes, and halfway through the conversation, she goes, "Oh, well, I want to be a Mara Jade. How do I do that?" Instant recruiting tool.
Yeah. And it definitely has that presence too, because you have conventions and you get a lot of members in costume. You know, the saying is like, oh, one stormtrooper, that's kind of cool. Two stormtroopers, that's neat. Two stormtroopers. Three, all of a sudden, it's what's going on.
Exactly.
And you see that, I mean, our podcast crew always goes to Dragon Con, and 501st always and Rebel Legion always bring up the end of the parade, and all of a sudden you're seeing a wall of X-Wing pilots, a wall of stormtroopers coming towards you, and it's like, wait, how do I get involved in this?
Exactly. It's always great to put on that massive kind of show.
Yeah, and I mean, we also, locally, we do 2 parades a year at least. Actually 3, I forgot one, but, and those are 3 events we always do, and we always get a good turnout, and it's great to have that kind of crowd reaction of us, seeing us walk down the street and like, oh my God, it's it's the big group of Star Wars people, because once again, one is a neat. The bigger the group, the more impressive it gets.
Definitely. And there's nothing quite like walking down the street in the middle of a parade, having somebody yell out, "It's the Star Wars!"
One of the first times I met you guys, as I had just started building my Scout, was doing the parade in the heart of Boston, wrangling, which is another thing we do talk about, is cosplay wranglers, and all of a sudden you just hear a block after block of, "Hey, Darth Vader," and it's definitely a fun group to get into if you like making costumes and you like Star Wars. You meet some of the best characters.
Yeah. We're the group for you. Or groups.
Groups,
the case may be.
And I started my Biker Scout working with you guys, and just today, right before filming this, we were working on my next costume, and I thought, oh, I'm going to build my Scout, and that was it. How wrong I was.
You get the bug.
Yeah.
You get bit.
It's always a gateway. There's always something that when you start, well, this was cool. Now I'm not working on anything.
Yeah.
What am I going to do next?
The other thing I would say is within the organizations, once again, I said, it's kind of like fraternity, but especially on the local level, you make some of the best friends, and people really look out for each other, and I think it's something that you can take away for any kind of cosplay group, whether it's just your group of friends or you're kind of more something, is you'll definitely see those people who look out for each other.
Well, this is where I have to compliment you a little bit here, because we had a build day a couple of months ago, and we were discussing what you were going to be doing at Dragon Con, and you were well, I'm going to wrangle. I'm going to make sure I'm going to wrangle the Dragon Con parade. Okay, well, is it a matter of, and I'm asking, is it a matter of transport? If you want, I've got a couple of costumes that can fit into a duffel bag. You don't have to worry about your Scout. No, I want to wrangle. It's no problem, though. We can take care of that. No, I want to wrangle. I want to be there and look out for the other people. And that's the kind of people, by and large, you're dealing with in the organizations, that they're willing to take a step back and don't always have to be, the center of, and just want to make sure that everything's going well and everything's going right. And that's what you did at Dragon Con.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things I say about wrangling too, and this goes for kind of, I think, any person who's wrangling their friends in costume, is you get to have a different kind of fun.
Definitely.
You're like, hold on, you get to have the stories of, oh, and this is when I had to fix so-and-so's thing that fell off. Oh, look, someone dropped a thermal detonator.
There are plenty of wrangling stories that I don't really want to repeat, but lots of things that I've fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you, do you think you'd mind if, could you adjust that?
This is pinching me, and I'd appreciate it now.
Yeah.
Could you handle that? Thank you.
And, I mean, we do event, and once again talking about the parades and stuff, we do events of all shapes and sizes. I mean, we hold stuff small, like we do the large things like the parades, but we do small things like library events and charity events and stuff like that. So, and then there are the occasional rock star crazy things, including Weird Al is what I think of. I mean, this is us bragging a little bit, but it's an incredible experience that we get to do because of this.
We may have been on the field at Fenway Park. We may have been on stage with Weird Al. We may have had Lucasfilm call us up to hang out with George Lucas on occasion. Maybe these things have happened. I'm not going to say they have or haven't, but just maybe.
Yeah, but and as neat as those are, and like it's definitely bragging rights. I think one of the things, and it's once again kind of goes back to the heart of the thing, it's the little moments, some of the little events that we talk about. I have been a member, just hit my 3rd year anniversary from my first troop. My very first troop was at a library that was doing Star Wars Reads Day and a blood drive. And I walked out of the changing space in my biker scout, and there was a kid who had a Star Wars visual encyclopedia, looked up at me, flipped through the pages, found the Scout Trooper page, and and it remains one of the best heartwarming things. And people ask us kind of, well, do you get paid for any of this? And how much do we guys make?
Nothing.
Probably more like negative, considering
Yeah.
how much people will put into making their costumes as screen accurate as possible. But yeah, we definitely don't profit.
But we get things like high fives and hugs from kids that are excited to see us, and that's...
We profit in memory and opportunity.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to put it.
And the occasional bragging rights.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
I mean, really, with the big events, you never know exactly when they're going to be coming. That's not really why you join the groups. That's an occasional extra bonus. You really do it for more of the events that you're going to be part of. Some people really prefer the smaller events because you do have more of that one-on-one connection like you had with the kid at the library, whereas in a parade, you have a whole, you could have 25 people sitting out the sidelines just screaming at once. So you're still getting that interaction with people, but different types of interactions.
And see, the reason why I joined wasn't even event related. It was the camaraderie. Because as we were discussing earlier today, we were building one of your costumes. We had half a dozen people in my basement building things. And just hanging out, talking Star Wars, talking television, talking comic books, because they're interests that we all have. And we've found a like-minded group of people. And, well, what's your fandom? What are you interested in? Well, we're all interested in Star Wars, but we talked Marvel Comics. You'll find somebody who's a big Evangelion fan because reasons, and you never know. You're gonna find somebody who happens to have a connection on another level. And some of the best times that I've had with these two organizations have nothing to do with trooping, have nothing to do with costumes, have nothing to do with events. They're just hanging out with friends who are like-minded and just having fun. And that's a lot of what we do at the conventions too, because not only are we in costume, we're a large group of like-minded individuals who get the opportunity to hang out, entertain, and see cool stuff.
Yeah. So, if people want to find more information, where can they go? Where's the best place to find out?
So, online is your best bet. You're going to want to look for 501st.com. You're going to want to look for rebellegion.com. Those are going to be your two main hubs. If you're looking for a local base or a local garrison, you're going to find it linked on either 501st.com or rebellegion.com. If you want to look locally first, put in your area and 501st or Rebel Legion into Google. You'll find us. We're all over the place. Google is your friend.
Yeah. And that's about all I have to ask you guys. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
Absolutely. Anytime.